Marine Corps Expeditionary Advanced Base operations require logistical support where and when Marines need it. The Airbus MQ-72C Logistics Connector leverages proven performance and reliability coupled with next-generation autonomous capability. As the Marine Corps revolutionizes warfare, the MQ-72C Logistics Connector evolves to support it. Visit airbusus.com to learn more.
Hey, Scuttlebutt listeners and viewers, I'm Vic. I'm here with Colonel Matthew Markam, who is the branch head for Enlisted Assignments.
Yep.
And I'm also here with Lieutenant Colonel David Emison, who is the Direct Affiliation Program OIC.
Yes.
Awesome. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
And we are talking today about the Direct Affiliation Program. Is that sort of where we want to go? Obviously, I want to talk a little bit about some of the enlisted assignment stuff, especially with the publication of talent management, how we are using sort of a data-centric model to retain. We're changing our model of recruit and replace, recruit and retain, trying to mature the force, like all of these things. And then we also have now a direct affiliation program so that we're able to, I guess, really cultivate a lot more of that talent. And so I want to talk some of the synergy between the two things.
Sure.
But I guess let's start with the direct affiliation program, because I was a former I&I.
Okay.
And so I got to see a lot of sort of how reserves work and drill and ADOS orders and, special work and individual augmentees and all of the ways that we have incorporated the reserves as not just a sort of break glass in time of war, but really incorporated into our force posture and things of that nature. And so could you talk a little bit about sort of what the DAP is and how it's a paradigm shift from the way we understood?
I'm not the expert. Lieutenant Colonel Emison is absolutely the expert here, but I would say the DAP program itself is not a new program, and the way in which we're executing the program is new.
Okay.
And I think that's all part of talent management and how we're looking to do things better and being more effective to retain
so
the
could you
right
explain
things.
sort of what the evolution of the program has been?
Well, I'll touch on it a little bit, but to your first question, what DAP allows Marines to do is make that seamless transition from the active duty to the reserve component, right? So it allows them to not skip these steps, not have breaks in their careers, take advantage of lots of different opportunities that I think Lieutenant Colonel Emison will talk about, to allow them to seamlessly transition into the reserves, maintaining some of that talent and those lethal capabilities, and transition right into our reserve component.
And so for our listeners and viewers who maybe aren't aware sort of how we assess into the Marine Forces Reserve, from the officer standpoint, the way it worked, at least when I was growing up, was you did your active duty time, and then if you, for whatever reason, life happens, you leave but don't want to completely step away out of uniform, you would then essentially find a recruit or
prior service recruiter
who would then put you either within a radius of what you wanted to do or find an MOS that you were looking to go into, right?
And I'll let Lieutenant Colonel Emison jump in at that, but you kind of highlight, like, that's how the program used to be run, right? Where Marines exit the pattern and they would talk to a prior service recruiter, and for generations of Marine officers and senior enlisted sat down Marines and talked to them about what their plans are. And certainly they've mentioned the opportunity for reserves. I know I have in the past when I was in command, sat down with Marines like, hey, do you have a good plan when you exit the Marine Corps? Hey, have you ever thought about being in reserves? But I didn't have the resources at my fingertips to walk them to somebody that could streamline the process. And I think that's the main difference of what we're doing today with DAP, is we've now put it in the hands of acting component commanders by missioning them, saying, hey, we want to go out, we want to retain a certain amount of our Marines to go directly from the active component into the reserves. And now when commanders sit down and talk to their Marines about what their options are, they're able to talk to them meaningfully about reserves and then walk them over to somebody who can help them before they exit the Marine Corps and don't have to figure it out on their own.
Yeah, that's great. We used to always be like, the question, have you thought about the reserves? And usually the answer was like, no, not really. Right. Well, sir, can you talk a little bit about sort of how it's evolved then and how we're changing the paradigm?
So it previously fell under the Marine Corps Recruiting Command, and what they offered was I mean, a lot of the same kind of benefits that I have now. However, you would have to bounce off the inactive ready reserve, which changes some of your eligibility for the different programs and for the different opportunities that the reserves can offer you. Through this program, it allows Marines to do, and I'll speak specifically about what the Marines can focus on first and then kind of what that offers MFR, but it allows the Marines to assess or at least have some kind of planning factor for a year out from when they're going to EAS, because I can lock a BIC or a job in a specific unit in a specific place for you a year before you actually exit the pattern, and also secure a bonus. You can not have to worry about, is your wife going to get TRICARE when she's pregnant on your way out the door. There's all kinds of benefits associated with that.
And the unit can start to now prepare for inbounds, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the only real difference at this point is that it's a really heavily focused program on the reserve side. Specifically, it normally was like a subset of what PSR already did, so the prior service recruiters. We decided this needs more focus because the reserve said we want more. FTAP and ASTAP for the reserve side, so the first term enlistments and subsequent re-enlistments of Marines who they were trying to retain, so like retaining from those who have already done the job. They wanted more. So my job has been for the last 2 years really just to focus on boosting end strength, which it's been a high mission, but we have absolutely exceeded what our initial expectations were coming into this program. So now, with these Marines who are able to plan their life a little bit, it also offers the reserves the opportunity to pull people in from the active duty service who have operational experience, who have been on deployments, who have experienced a little bit of what lethality actually looks like, and apply that to what the Marine Corps Reserve is trying to do. Because now, in this last year, the reserves met their mission for retention relatively early, and it was awesome. It was very, very cool. And it was nice to be. I was honored to be a part of that through building this program and getting more Marines through the door. But now the reserves is focused on, okay, we've got the people now, how do we focus on readiness? And that's the big push coming into this next year. So you'll see some things change with the program in terms of where we're focusing, who we're looking for, and what kind of money and bonuses we're going to offer as a result of that. But really, more than anything else, this program was make more reservists and help contribute to the overall lethality of our readiness at this point is what they're looking at. So that's a brief history as I understand it at this point.
No, that's great. I probably am conflating acronyms, but one of the programs that we started to work on when I was I&I, so this would have been, I'm drawing a blank, 8 to 11, so 08 to 11. Was the direct ascension of officers. So we would get a second lieutenant who didn't have to have done his active duty time. Is that still a thing?
Yeah. So I was also a recruiter at one point I was an OSO out in Fort Collins, and that's still a thing. Like you have a reservist mission where they will go through all the active duty schooling and things like that, but then they go, once they're done with once they obtain their MOS and go through the school, then they go to, back to whatever list they had at that point. So they'll fill out their obligation that way.
Yeah, and it was like essentially their summer, their
1 week in a month, 2 weeks out of the summer,
would be at the school, right? They would get on active duty orders, and then they would do the rest of their entry level training stuff. So I feel like I'm an Amtrak, so like they would spend their summer in at Camp Delmar, Camp Pendleton, right, going through AAV officers course.
It's not a bad way to live your life.
No, it's a good deal. Really good deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how is this linked then into what we're looking at for enlisted assignments? Do these two play? Is there synergy between the two?
Yeah, so I think there is, right? Okay. I think the long-term benefits of the program are going to play out here soon, and I think we're seeing some telltale signs. This is great. I mean, one, it increases the permeability, right? So we have individuals leaving the active component going straight into reserves. And then on the recruiting side, there's a prior service entry program that MCRIC works, right? Where they bring Marines back on active duty. So I think you're seeing a lot of Marines starting to move back and forth between the reserves. Like we said, it's fairly new, but I think you're going to see more permeability in the long haul. For officers, it's called RAD. Can't remember what the acronym stands for right now.
Return to active duty.
Return back to duty for officers, prior service entry program for Marines. But I think you're going to see more permeability between the reserves and the active component, which obviously plays into assignments, because the more Marines that like, hey, I want to come back up to the active component. Oh, hey, are you willing to take these set of orders? Yeah, absolutely. That sounds like an adventure to me, and I want to get back. I miss doing Marine Corps things.
Yeah.
And so I think on the active component side, we're going to start reaping the benefits of that as well.
That's an interesting way of sort of hitting that retention model, is by going to those Marines that maybe, I hate to be, colloquial, but like kind of have buyer's remorse, right? Like, the grass was greener over there, so I'm going to get out. And they're like, oh yeah, it's greener because this is where the dogs are shitting. So I went back in,
you obviously you're a Marine, and I don't know if I'm going to date myself, but I have Facebook. I know that's not cool anymore, but I have a ton of Marines on my Facebook page that were Marines for 4 years. And you can tell, and there's Marines that I NJP'd, and I love them, like just the way you care about Marines. And even though I NJP'd them, they still care for me, right? But they missed the Marine Corps, and you can see that they lost that connection. And you can see it in their posts, you can see it in how they react to other things that are online. And I think the way that DAP is set up now, some of those Marines who missed that connection and wish they were a part of it, but it was a little bit too hard to come back into the fold, it's now made easier.
Yeah.
And so I think you're going to see in the long haul, you're going to have those individuals who strongly desire to be part of the Marine Corps, but want to leave and try different things and see what else is out there in life, who maybe the grass is not as greener because they step in something that the dog left, right? But now it's easier to come back. They're still connected in the fold, and they understand what the connective tissues are to come back on to the active side. So I think you'll see a back and forth.
Yeah.
And you're not having a complete sort of experience dump every time you try to pull somebody back in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And to the lethality, right? Like, I'm an artillery officer by trade. I'm a colonel now, right? But I haven't touched artillery in quite some time. So my skills have atrophied. So when you got a Marine who walks straight out of active duty into the reserves, like, he's coming in, his skills are sharp, and the reserves maintain the edge on that skill set.
Yeah.
And so I think the reserves are going to become more lethal over time, because they're going to take that individual straight out of active duty, capitalize on the experience he just had, and sustain him at a rate that they wouldn't be sustained otherwise had they had broken time from active duty, got out, realized, hey, I miss it, I want to go into I'm not ready to go back active duty, I want to go back into the reserves because I miss the camaraderie or the feeling of putting on the uniform on a regular basis.
Right, but they're still through the DAP, they're fresh on the TTPs. You don't have to go through and hey, I used to do this, but that was 5 years ago.
Well, here's the thing too. Even if they're not, I've been really grateful with the flexibility the Marine Forces Reserve has offered me in this program, and building it is some of the big misalignments or the lat move training that we can offer these folks. It's very easy to change an MOS. Like, maybe you haven't pulled the lanyard on a cannon in 5 years, and you're like, maybe I want to go back, but I don't necessarily want to pull a lanyard because I might be a little sloppy on that. You can move into all kinds of career fields. I can put you kind of wherever you want to go, and once you finish your MOS school, then you're eligible for a bonus, and you're eligible for all kinds of benefits and stuff like that. So
that's a great point. I think you see individuals who are leaving the service who maybe they want to see what civilian life has to offer, and maybe they didn't enjoy their MOS as much as they would have liked in the active component. They can lat move into the reserves and still remain part of the the cult.
No, it's one of the things I've very much appreciated about being in or being associated with the reserves was the level of flexibility. And this was during the Long War too, so a lot of times there were even opportunities for Marines who, I've got a thing that I think I see a need in the Marine Corps. I'm going to create an MOS. And if you run it up the chain, and if MNRA and Headquarters Marine Corps are like, that's a great idea, and then they would just put this person into that sort of field, and so that level of flexibility has been really, I think, is really good. What do you think? Maybe some of the, I guess, critics, if you will, or people who think maybe. I don't know. What if some of the criticisms you guys have heard from
one I heard coming in to be the branch head is like, hey, this DAP retention is going to compete with active duty retention, and I don't believe that is true.
Okay.
Right? The numbers don't show it. If you look at our active duty retention, we're hitting historic numbers. We're doing great. And if you look at where we're DAP, and I'll let him talk about the progress we made in DAP. If you look at DAP, we didn't make our DAP mission, right? But we have almost tripled it, right? I believe.
Yes.
Yeah,
from
from
the previous
was-
10-year average, last year we finished triple what the previous 10-year average was. So yes, or at least close to it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, like, we put it in the active duty components' hands, their mission with it, and they're taking it seriously. And the more, and we're resourced appropriate with DAP specialists throughout the fleet who can help career counselors, former career planners, talk to all the Marines and let them know what resources are out there. So we're only going to get better, right? And so, and to the critics out there who think that it competes with retention, I'll tell you, I think a lot of Marines, like you kind of highlighted, think the grass is greener, but maybe they realize the grass is completely greener, and it keeps them on the decision fence for a little bit longer, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, do I want to stay active component? Do I want to get out? Was kind of the paradigm that we grew up under, right?
Yeah.
But now it's like, hey, do I want to get out? Do I want to go to the reserves, or do I want to stay an active component? And that reserve option gives them a place to go, or keeps them on the fence wherever they're like, you know what, if I'm really that serious about being reserved, maybe I'll stay the active component. So I would say that numbers-wise, it hasn't affected us at all. Yeah.
I think it's interesting too, so that you'd mentioned one of the aspects, because again, I'm a dinosaur, but there was this, and sort of to go to your cult thing that you mentioned is
It's the best cult.
Yeah, it was like no one ever wanted to say, hey, I'm thinking about getting out. Because everybody would be like, hey, you dis-loud motherfucker, and so you would get blackballed, like really, and it was like, all I was doing is thinking out loud. Like,
So yeah,
Jesus.
guess whose pro cons are going down.
Yeah,
Did
exactly.
you just say you didn't love the Marine Corps? That's what I heard.
Hey, we're going to LtCol. No, not you. And I think just having it, even just having this program in existence, I think opens up the conversation and allows people to feel like, hey, no matter what my decision is, the Marine Corps has my back.
I think that's that might be my favorite aspect of this program. I'm going to make an assumption here. Like you've read Tribe by Sebastian Junger, yeah. So there's the overall thesis of that book for me was the way the Marine Corps operates is about as close to our individual circuitry as you can possibly believe. Right? Like you live in a platoon. Yep. Like all the numbers, all the missions, all like the camaraderie makes sense for all the circuitry we have for a reward system. And then you leave.
Yeah, you leave.
And you leave, and you go back to how things are now. And like, I don't. If you want to believe everything on social media or anything on social media, times is tough for some folks. And I think that the ability to have either a soft ramp on the way into that, or at least some way to come back and scratch that issue when you feel it. That's my favorite aspect of this program.
Yeah, it's almost like the prodigal son, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, like I've returned and I know things.
Right,
yes,
I suck. Please bring me back. Like, oh, give him rings and where's my 5 robes?
Give him another rank. He's killing it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, is there anything else about this program or anything that Enlisted Assignments is doing that you'd like for our listeners and viewers to know about, sort of where MNRA is standing on talent management, even? That's an awful broad strokes question. But.
It is a broad question. I mean, there's lots of things in Enlisted Assignments, but I think specifically with DAP, I would tell you that that we are doing a better job every day of reaching out and figuring out how we make the process better. I would say that LtCol Emison sat at the Talent Management Symposium, and 2 years ago he got up and he briefed the program to the commanders out there, and they had questions, right? Like, how is this going to work? What is this?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean we're going to be missioned with putting people in the reserves? And now that this talent management symposium, those commanders are coming back and they're hitting them with like meaningful questions. Like, we didn't think about that, because they're getting great feedback from the Marines out there. So if you're listening, if you're a commander or you're a Marine, you're interested in this program, hey, we know that, Marines are never satisfied, right? You could give
complain,
them, you're not happy if you're not complaining, right? But like, we're listening to them, and their feedback is great, and there's things that we're continuing to evolve and make better. One of the things that MMEA is working on through a thing called Software Factory is Reserve Hub, where it's not out yet, but we expect to be out in the next couple months, where a Marine can go in and figure out, hey, I'd like to live in this state near this zip code. He can put it in, and they can show him what all reserve opportunities are out there and what's open. And then he can go and he can, click on it, and it'll show him, hey, this is this far from your house, and because you're at this distance, you rate a reimbursement for travel, right? So it'll help him come to the DAP specialist or his career counselor while he's on active, and it'll also help those individuals who are not on active duty who are out in the civilian population right now who miss being in the Marine Corps in some fashion, right? That program will be out here soon. It's going to be called Reserve Hub.
It's a great idea.
And that will allow people to connect back to the Marine Corps or plan their transition out a little bit more effectively. And that's one, those are ideas, that we're picking up, we're listening, and we're trying to make it a little bit easier. I mean, you can get the information now. It's just not as easy as Marines would like it to be, or it should be at this point.
The only thing I'd really like to highlight moving forward is that, well, first of all, I'd like to give a huge shout out to my team. Like, we're very small. Like, Gunnery Sergeant Pulliam and Sergeant Razak are phenomenal human beings, and they're also phenomenal Marines. And I've learned so much from them, and I've been so grateful for the work they put in. I mean, as a direct result of their influence and their capabilities in this program, again, over the last 10-year average, tripled the numbers. We saw more than 1250 over this last year, and we are, as of right now, ahead of that number, and it's April.
Awesome.
So it's going really well. We issued $25 million in bonuses. Like, that's all because of those two, and I'm very grateful for the work they put in. And quite frankly, like, because of the groundwork they've laid in helping to build this program, I have the utmost confidence it's just going to continue to grow. So the manpower, the information is in the fleet. There are people specifically focused on this. The reserve retention specialists that we're putting out there are the DAP specialists. We played with the name a little bit as we were building this, but people who are specifically focused on DAP, it will continue to grow, and it will continue to help with the overall reserve mission and help with those Marines who want to stay in uniform.
Okay. Well, and how can our listeners and viewers get more information about this? Do you guys have you mentioned the hub that's in development, but
so the DAP webpage is under MMEA under retention on the manpower pages, so it's easy to navigate to, and there's all kinds of information on there.
If you Google Stay Marine, you'll be able to get to it. So it's a pretty easy to remember. Stay Marine.
That's what
we're trying to do, right? Whether you want to be a reserve Marine or active duty Marine, please stay Marine.
Okay, awesome. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I know, it's modern day Marine, right? So everybody's busy, and I know that you guys have things, but thank you so much for being generous with your time and talking about this really, really great program. So,
thanks.
Best of luck to you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely.